There seems to be a trend with Strand, and while I may be 3 months late, I'm finally experiencing the joy that is Infinite Suspend. Hunters get to join Titans in this realm of oblivion, making some of the hardest content in the game a glorified joke. Infinite Suspend Hunter is a great build that I have been very much enjoying, allowing me to minimize the risk of ad-related deaths in some of the harder activities like Master to Nightmares and Grandmaster Nightfalls. So let's dive into it. Starting off with the exotic, we're going to be running the 6 Coyote for the extra dodge, as this is going to be essential for our Strand suspensions. In addition to the extra dodge, we will be getting our dodges back much faster because of a fragment in our subclass. So let's dive straight into it. Silk Strider is the only Strand Hunter super in the game at the current moment. While the super does temporarily change our grenade to a grapple, we still have the ability to use our dives at the cost of some super energy, and can be used to knock out some ads in the room. I have used this on more than one occasion to get me out of a sticky situation, and the radius in which the grapple hits is pretty wide, allowing you to hit enemies you probably couldn't see. Moving on to the dodge, I'm using Marksman Dodge, but either one can be used. The reason why I stick with Marksman Dodge is because it has the shortest cooldown, which means I can suspend things a few seconds faster. While the timing is small and negligible at best, there's always the possibility of saving your grenade for something farther away. If you prefer running Gambler's Dodge to get your melee ability back, then feel free to switch to it. Threaded Spike is a great throwable that we can use against enemies that are suspended to get some free hits on them for damage. Threaded Spike acts like a boomerang, allowing us to catch it when it comes back to us to get a bit of our melee energy back. The amount of energy back scales with the amount of enemies you hit. If you hit nothing, you get a small amount back, but if you hit a solid group of them, you can potentially get your entire melee ability back. Shackle grenades are the second most important part of this build. We'll be able to get this back quickly with one of our fragments, allowing us to be lenient with them. Shackle grenades suspend targets on hit and can be used to take control of a room when entering it. Let's use the Fallen Saber Grandmaster as an example. When the door opens, I immediately throw my shackle grenades towards the back of the room and run to the small hallway on the left. Just before going in, I use Ensnaring Slam to try and prevent the ads from following us in. This way I have another grenade for the overload and anti-barrier in the back of the room if I miss them. Moving on to the aspects, we use Widow Silk so we can have an extra grenade charge. With our setup, we will be regenerating grenade energy while damaging targets, but having an extra grenade makes ad control that much easier. The second aspect we use is Ensnaring Slam. Ensnaring Slam allows us to slam the ground at the cost of our class ability to suspend targets. This is pretty overpowered, especially when everything comes charging at you, and you either need to make a quick getaway or lift them off their feet. Moving on to the fragments. Starting off, I use the Fragment Thread of mine for the bit of extra class ability regen I get on defeating suspended targets. The next fragment we are using is Thread of Warding. Thread of Warding grants us 10 seconds of Woven Mail on Orb of Power pickups. While still prone to headshots, Woven Mail grants you a lot of damage resistance to the body and can be used to tank even the heftiest of attacks. Definitely a must for me when running GMs. Thread of Continuity is the next aspect we will be using so we can increase the duration of our suspended targets. The longer the enemies are incapacitated, the better. Lastly, Thread of Generation. Grenades run out when you throw them, so to get them back that much quicker, we need to be able to regenerate them with damage. Thread of Generation works whether or not you have enemies tangled, so you will be getting your grenade over time just by clearing out a room. Starting with stats, I focus on mobility, resilience, and discipline. Mobility will reduce the cooldown of the class ability, resilience will give us 30% damage resistance, and discipline will make our grenades come back faster. These will be the mods we are using. Just note, the chest mods and Solar Surge are interchangeable, based on what weapons you're using at the time. Starting with the helmet, I run a heavy ammo finder for my heavy, and either a kinetic or harmonic siphon helmet. This depends on the gun I am using for ads. Lastly, I run a heavy ammo scout so I can generate ammo for my teammates in activities. Moving on to the Gauntlets, double impact induction is useful for getting the grenades back faster with melee damage, and a grenade kickstart so I can get a bit of energy back on grenade throws. The chest depends on the content you are running. For my loadouts, I always put on a concussive dampener and some other resist mods, but this changes depending on the activity. It's basically your choice between using reserve mods or resistant mods. Legs are next, and we are running a recuperation mod for the extra health we get from an Orb of Power, insulation for the extra ability to our dodge, and whatever surge mod you want. The surge mod can be interchangeable and probably dumped altogether in favor for an innovation mod, but it's really up to you. Having the extra damage is pretty nice every now and again. Lastly, for the Cloak, we are running a time dilation mod, assuming that you're running a surge mod, and a Reaper mod, so we can guarantee an Orb of Power after we use our Ensnaring Slam. If you aren't using a surge mod, I'd recommend putting on 2 bomber mods to get your grenade back faster. Overall, this build is amazing for endgame content. The ad control you have makes just about all content that much easier. From Legend Lost Sectors to Grandmaster Nightfalls, Hunter Strand is one of the most potent ad control builds currently available in PvE, sitting right next to Arc Hunter. Sorry this video took so long to make, I wanted to get everything right. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and consider checking out some of my other content. Thanks!